Type is one of the most underestimated parts of design. Without type, advertisement would be useless. We want to take you back to the history of type so that you can learn the importance and not underestimate type. This is Grace, Tanner, Jake, and Mac, and our topic is typography. Together as a group, we collaborated the milestones of the first to the most modern ways of type. It all started with Johann Gutenberg and his revolutionary idea of printing press. Before the invention of movable type, printing had been practiced in Korea, China, and Japan for several centuries, and Europeans printed type with carved wooden blocks for about 100 years before a more modern movable type system was developed in Europe in 1450. A movable type is a system of printing and typography that uses movable components to reproduce the type of an article. It was revolutionary because before, you had to have a monk write a book by hand, which took time. It was very expensive. With printing press, you could mass-produce books quickly and efficiently with less cost. The next chapter in the story is the Italian Renaissance. The Italian Renaissance was the earliest manifestation of general European Renaissance, a period of great cultural change and achievement that began in Italy during the 14th century and lasted until the 16th century, marking the transition between medieval and early modern Europe. During the Italian Renaissance, many typefaces were developed by various people from around the world that came to Italy to join the cultural movement. This was so important because it showed the world the importance of art and words. People really started getting into it more advanced in different fonts, including a Gothic font. Moving further along in Britain and American colonies, a man named Caxton was a big part of it. As both printer and publisher, Caxton made a number of contributions to the English literature, including the first attempts at the standardization of English, introducing the process of movable type to England. It was so revolutionary and changed the game forever. Another huge part was from a man named Carlson. Carlson started a foundry in 1737 that would remain in the Carlson family for over 120 years. A typography dynasty. His complete canon included Roman, Italic, Greek, Hebrew, and Arabic. And from a man named Juan Pablo, the first printing press on the American continent commenced in 1539, when Spanish printer Juan Pablo set up a print shop under the direction of the Archbishop of Mexico City. The final milestone is sans serifs. One could argue that sans serif typeface existed as far back as ancient times. By their means of execution, early chiseled faces were constructed from strokes and unadorned endings. But in reality, it was the late 19th century when the type designers deliberately decided to design faces that were without sans serifs. A man named Moseley observed that architects used sans serifs on building faces before the style emanated from the type foundry. Then, in 1779, John Sorin used sans serifs capitals on a drawing for a British Senate House that he was submitting to the Royal Academy in London in hope of a prize. It is earliest known example of the Monline sans serifs inscriptional letter of the Republican Rome that was revived at this date and became widely used for signs in typography.